Hello, everyone. This is Steve Palladino from Palladino Power Project, and I want to bring you another video on the SuperPower Calculator. This one is I'm actually sort of previewing a new calculator that we're probably going to release in the SuperPower Calculator 5.0 when we release it. We're working on a few things there. But I want to preview this one. This is another method of calculating your FTP or CP. So let me just go to it. And what I want to do is I start here because as I drop down the selection box of the various calculators. Now in version 5.0, there's a new calculator. And this one, it uses a monad model for calculating FTP or CP using an entered reserve work capacity or W prime. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in this video as well. But it adds and gives us a fourth way of estimating FTP or CP from our key data. So one method, the one that's we've had the longest is estimating an FTP, and it also gives you a reserve work capacity estimate from a CP test, from say a 3-minute, 10-minute CP test on the same day. So that's been there for since the outset. And then with version 4.0, we introduced this version. It's also a monad-based calculator, and it will calculate FTP or CP and a reserve work capacity using test efforts, maximal efforts, but they can be from different days over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. I did a video on this, and I will link to that video in the description of this video. So if you want to jump over and check that out. Those are both monad-based and produce two estimates, FTP slash CP and reserve work capacity. Those are for testing. So whether you're testing on a single day or multiple days over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, it's for testing. Then we've had this third one for a while. This is estimating FTP using race data. So it uses the Rigel formula, that model, and so you need to have a Rigel exponent, and there's ways of either knowing it or estimating it. We have those features in the calculator, but it allows you to take say your 10K, or let's say you run a half marathon. You can take that half marathon power and duration plus a Rigel exponent, and it will estimate your FTP CP. It's not going to give you a reserve work capacity estimate. It's just going to give you your FTP CP from this calculator. So now, not only testing, but you also have racing. Well, this calculator using the Rigel formula works pretty good for, from say 30-minute duration of races up to marathon. But when you start going to shorter duration races, because of the variable size of the reserve work capacity of runners and other factors, the Rigel-based model for estimating FTP-CP from short duration races just doesn't work quite as well. So we have this new calculator, which we'll be releasing in version 5.0 of SuperPower Calculator. And that's the one I want to talk about tonight or today. And it is a calculator that uses the monad model and will estimate your FTP and CP And you have to provide your race power, race time, and a reserve work capacity estimate. And this works really good for short duration races. So if races below 30 minutes, this would be the one that you want to use as opposed to the Rigel-based model. So let's look into it. So I'm going to actually select that calculator. And like all of the calculators, the required elements are in this yellowish color or goldish color, and then optional elements are in blue, and the outcome or the result is in green. Warnings will be posted off to the side. And let's go ahead. So we're just going to plug in some data. There's a male with using a stride wind. The reason why you want to have that in there is there's a portion of the calculator that will actually estimate reserve work capacity for you based on our population data. So this is an important element, is to toggle which kind of pod that you have, and also male or female, because that affects your reserve work capacity as well. So we want those two elements. And then the power and duration of the race. Now, this was a 5K or 5,000 meter race run by a pretty good runner. He ran 14:53, averaged 392 watts. Well, we don't have any recent CP test data, so I can't come over here and enter a value, say 11.8. If I knew, if he had done a CP test, say he did a CP test, 2 or 3 weeks before, let's say this is an A race, we did a CP test 2 or 3 weeks ago before that for planning purposes, then we know from the CP test we have a estimate for the reserve work capacity. And if we enter a specific value like this 11.8 kilojoules, we can scroll down and see that with a known reserve work capacity of 11.8, with that power and duration, it estimates his FTP or CP at around 379 watts. 379 watts. So not all people know their reserve work capacity because they may not have done a recent CP test or one of the other methods that I went over earlier, whether it's a single day test or test multiple tests over a 2 to 3 week period. So you may not know that. So what we did is, based on the population data from some studies that we did, we know the mean and standard deviation of the reserve work capacity for male stride wind pod users, a mean of 9.73, standard deviation 2.09, which gives you a range, this medium range right here. All right, so it goes. We have every permutation, male, female, non-wind, wind, and it'll give you this medium range. That's what we will use if we select estimate reserve work capacity. If we select that option, because we don't really know, we don't have a recent CP test, we select that, it's going to give your FTP CP estimate as a range based on that range at plus or minus 1 standard deviation from the mean of the population data we have. And that's going to give you a pretty good estimate. So as we scroll down, it's the same race data, same athlete, but we're estimating based on the population, that middle group right here, from 7.64 to 11.82 kilojoules for the reserve work capacity. So based on that, we get a FTP CP estimate of 381 watts based on the mean. But that you don't want to take that. That's going to be too error prone for many runners. So what you want to do is actually look at the range, and that's over here in the red. So based on that medium reserve work capacity range, based on the population, which runs from 7.64 to 11.82 kilojoules for males with the wind pod, the actual FTP range or estimate for this athlete is about 379 to 383 watts. So I think it's better doing it this way. We don't want to say it's exactly 381 watts. You need allow the athlete or the coach or the user of the SuperPower Calculator to have some leeway. It's not you have to use 381. There's a range. This person's FTP or CP is in this range in all likelihood. A high probability that's between 379 and 383 watts. So this, again, is a calculator that's to be released in version 5.0. It is the fourth of the various calculators for calculating FTP or CP. This one is for application to race data for races that are generally 30 minutes and under. For 30 minutes and over, you're going to use this other Rigel-based model. So there you have it. I think we've covered a pretty good range of ways of estimating your FTP CP from various key data, whether it's testing data or racing data. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.